is it. I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired already. Hi friends, I'm Jen with the Budget Bounce. Welcome back. We are living life on a budget, fighting our way through a mountain of stupid debt that we've accumulated. We are following Dave Ramsey and his baby steps and are currently in baby step number 2, the debt snowball. So if you want to hear more about that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and hit that bell, tap on it so that you'll get notifications whenever we upload new videos, which is currently every Sunday and Wednesday. So today I am thrilled to be co-hosting a collab with Jamie from Becoming Housewife. We are talking about our sick and tired of being sick and tired moments. We have all had them at one point or another for one reason or another. And I'm not any different from most of you or anyone else who's on this collab. So comment below to tell us about your sick and tired moment that led you out here to find us. There are several other channels that are participating. So of course there's Jamie over at Becoming Housewife. We've got A Decade to Freedom, Becoming Housewife, City Girl Living on a Budget, Marisha Hart, Prudent Joy, Shopping Crafty, True Financials, and Wendy Valencia are all participating in this particular collab. We also have a special treat for you down below in the description box where we each have linked all of the channels that are participating in this collab. But we also have an original playlist from the original collab that was done at the end of 2016. And maybe it's not the original, but it's the last collab that we know of that was done on this topic. And so be sure to check that out because there were a lot of great videos back then too. And some of those people have actually become debt-free since then, and others are still on their journey, but you'll always be able to find something good out of these stories. So don't hesitate to click on that and you'll be able to see the list of all of the videos that were done back then. So let's get started. So the first question for today is, how long ago was your sick and tired moment? Mine actually, my sick and tired moment happened on a very cold Saturday morning in January of 2018. So not quite 6 months ago. It was actually just about 5 months ago. And the next question is, describe what happened that made you sick and tired of being sick and tired. So this is a much longer answer than the first one. So let me back up a little bit. It had been building up for 18 months, actually. We had zero control over our money. Our behavior was awful. I mean, we spent an average of $1,100 a month on food in 2017 for 3 of us. And that's just what was in our checking account. That's what I could track from there. I have no idea what we spent on credit cards. That was just in our checking account. That is nuts, people. So we had zero discipline and no idea where any of our money was going. We just bought stuff and figured it out later. We made a good income. And typically, our figuring out later was by using credit cards. And that is what helped us make ends meet from month to month. And I could see that we were heading for disaster because I was doing all the finances and I could see it, but I was not saying anything. And the tipping point kept growing closer and closer, and I saw it coming, but I could not slow down the emotional spending and eating train that both Matt and I were on at the time. Then Matt got sick, and if you watched any of our videos, you have seen where I've talked about this. Matt got sick and went on a leave of absence in July of 2017. He could not work for 10 months, and the insurance company only paid 6 weeks of disability while he was out. While I make a good living in my career, it was not nearly enough to support our out-of-control spending and paying off all of our regular monthly bills to live, plus all of our debt payments that we had. At the exact same time that Matt got sick, a key member of my team left my employer after 9 years. And her absence meant a shift of a large majority of her work to me. So my plate was already overflowing, and now I had to take all that on as well and train somebody else and do all of that, but I was responsible for it in the meantime. So, things were overflowing at work, things were getting out of hand at home, and now the geysers blew at the same time, both of them at the same time, while I was standing in the middle of it. The collectors started calling in August, and they were relentless. Let me just tell you, I had never, ever not paid all of my bills. And, I always paid at least the minimum, if not more, each month. And the calls were so upsetting for me. I ignored them for months before, primarily because I had to. But I had so much going on with Matt's illness and trying to keep our four walls going and all that was happening at work. But by December, I couldn't handle the financial, work, and emotional loads any longer. So, with being scared for Matt and worried about our money and worried about my performance at work, which was declining at the time, I hadn't told anyone about my home life, including my manager of 15 years. I went ahead and started counseling in early December, and I did, by the way, tell her around the same time. I swore I wasn't going to talk about our finances when I started counseling. I focused on my interactions that were with Matt and how I could help him and the kiddos get through all the things that we were going through. And then one day in the first week of January, I accidentally slipped and mentioned our finances. And once that happened, my doctor jumped all over that, and it became the focus of our discussions. So here's the thing, though. I couldn't talk to Matt about it. I still had to hold it in. And honestly, I had only told my parents and my sister and brother-in-law, and now my boss. And I wasn't talking to anybody about any of this unless I absolutely had to. And so I was holding all of this in. I didn't want to tell Matt about it because I didn't want to exacerbate his symptoms. He was already struggling and had enough stress with his condition. And, it was still very fragile at that point in time. So I kept it all bottled up inside until that fateful Saturday morning in January. Actually, it was right around lunchtime. And on that day, like all Saturdays at that point in my life, I was awakened at 8 a.m. sharp by a call from a collector. It was the first one of the day. And later that particular day, around noon, Matt and I were driving in our vehicle going somewhere together. And my phone started ringing, and it was another collections call. And on that day, it was right at around noon, and it was the 7th call of the day. And 4 hours, I lost it. I just completely lost it in the car. And in that moment, on that day, I started crying and yelling at my phone, and in front of Matt, I just lost it. And I looked at Matt and said, "Enough is enough. This has to stop. We have got to get this together. I'm taking control of this one thing in my life. There are so many things that are out of my control right now, but this thing I can control. We are going back on the Dave Ramsey plan." So if you're not sure what I'm referring to, I'll do a link to a couple of different things. First of all, our very first intro video and also our debt confession, so you can see exactly what we're talking about here. And I might even put it at a card up here in the corner. And the eye in the sky, as Wendy likes to call it, Wendy Valencia. So that was what happened, I guess. So the question was, describe what happened that made you sick and tired of being sick and tired. So that was it. The next question is, what changes did you make because of this? So that was actually about 10 days before February 1st. And I spent a lot of the next 2 weekends, that same weekend and the next one, gathering all of our financial information, including our very long list of debts totaling right at $250,000. And writing our first budget. So again, I'm linking our debt confession down below so you can see that what I was dealing with. And in our very first intro video, I talk about the fact that I was on the Dave Ramsey plan and doing the baby steps when I met my husband way back in the mid 2000s. So this was not new to me. But I dove in after this, and I really didn't consult with Matt. He knew I was doing it, but I didn't consult with him until after I had it all done. And we've never looked back since. So since February 1st, these are the things that have happened. We have lived on a budget. We haven't incurred any debt. We have $1,000 in a baby emergency fund, which is baby step number 1. We have paid off 7 of 34 debts that we started with. We've cash flowed 2 separate emergencies that have totaled about $500, both of which would have sent us into a tailspin prior to February 1st. We now shop at Aldi and as our primary grocery store, and then supplement from there to keep our grocery costs down. We signed up for Ebates, so I've already gotten my first payment from them. I set up about 20 sinking funds. We're not using them all, but they are set up so that we can use them when we're ready to use them. We're very focused on debt right now. And then another thing that we did was, and this is one of the most important things, was we started the Budget Bounce. The Budget Bounce channel right here on YouTube, along with an Instagram, a Twitter, and a Facebook group. So those things were all to help us, and me in particular, stay focused and be accountable to one another. So Matt is my yes man. He just wants me to be happy. And if you know anything about DISC, D-I-S-C, in the workplace, and talking about D's and S's, I'm a D and my husband is an S. And so my husband does not want conflict. He wants everybody to be happy. He just wants everyone to be content. And I'm a D, and I am, D stands for dominance. And so, go figure. I think you can kind of put two and two together. Anyhow, so I'm very assertive and decisive, and he is not. He will just do whatever I want to do, and while I love him for that, it is not necessarily healthy for us. And it's not his fault. That is absolutely not his fault, but I allowed that to happen instead of taking control of things like I should. So the next question is, did your other half get on board with the changes? So yes, Matt was on board. He and I had actually been through Financial Peace University twice prior to this all happening earlier this year. Once was not long after we met, and then we went again another time shortly after we got married. So probably in like 2011 or 12 was the last time we went. But we've never applied any of that stuff since either of those classes. Once I fell off the wagon of doing it for myself, I just never looked back and never did anything positive with it. But because we went through the class, Matt understands what the baby steps are. He understands what they are, what needs to happen. He understands the nuances of it. And so, and why they're important and why they're successful. But he didn't have the capacity at the time to take on the burden. So as time passed, he has done some other things like change how he shops for the groceries to keep those expenses under control. And he uses the EveryDollar app. I use the EveryDollar app and have him in it so that he can keep an eye on the line items in the budget that he is affecting directly with his spending throughout the month. The next question is, what do you envision your life being like when you have met your goals? So I have to say right now, what we do is we say, oh my God, can you imagine what our life is going to be like when we don't have to pay all this stuff? Like I honestly, we can't fathom it because we owe so much money. So we haven't spent a whole lot of time doing that. But let me just share a little bit more. We make a really good income for our area. We live in the Midwest. We live in Illinois on the Iowa border. So we're right on the Mississippi. And it's, we live in a modest home with modest expenses in an area that has a very modest cost of living. So once we have no debt other than the mortgage, what we're really looking forward to doing is sucking as much away as we can for retirement. So we are in our 40s, and so we have a lot of catching up to do. And so we want to try to catch up with that as much as we can. We know that we've lost a lot of the momentum that we would have gotten from doing it when we were younger, but we're going to do everything we can to repair that now. We'd also like to travel, and we have our eye on some charitable organizations that we want to support financially, but we're not able to do that right now. So, and ideally, Matt would love to own his own business so that he can work at that full time instead of having to work for someone else. So, that Saturday in January was so poignant, you guys. I can't even tell you. The actions that we took after that day have truly changed our lives. We no longer worry about money. Instead, we work to attack our debt and free ourselves from these chains. If we can do it, you can do it too. No question about it. If you've been there, comment below and let us know what your sick and tired of being sick and tired moment was. We'd love to hear from you, and I think others could benefit from it if you'll share with us. So be sure to check out the videos from the other channels that are all listed below in the description box. And we are just getting started on our journey, so click the subscribe button and tap that bell if you haven't already to join us on our journey if you'd like to see how it all turns out. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you would. So if we haven't met, I'm Jen, and I'm a wife, a stepmom, a human resources manager, and a grandma, also known as Lala. And our 16-year-old and 21-year-old kiddos live with us, along with our daughter's fiance and our almost 8-month-old granddaughter. And we are following Dave Ramsey's baby steps and learning to live on a budget. And we are really glad that you're all here, that whether you're here to visit or you're a subscriber coming back, we're just glad to have you. And we really appreciate that you are really truly our accountability partners. So with that, until next time. Is Grandpa messing with you?
Look, look, it's in the box again. Look, hey.
Did you get it?
Here, let me help you. Let me get it back up.